Dan Snyder is making movies, Darren Waller's making music videos, and Mark Davis is making babies? I thought the summer was supposed to be the quiet time for NFL content. We're back, baby! Even though we didn't go anywhere. We just did fantasy content for a couple of weeks. We're talking litigation, copulation, a roast of Tom Brady, and a commencement speech that pissed off plenty. Join us as we tap dance around politics and religion like Fred Astaire on cocaine in what might just be our last episode ever. Because they would cancel us. Was that not clear? I thought that if I... Welcome to Shut Up Football. I'm Jeff Stoltzfus, that's Kevin, and when it comes to the NFL, this is barely news. Last month, Netflix presented the roast of Tom Brady, live from Inglewood. It was hosted by Kevin Hart and featured Drew Bledsoe, Randy Moss, Jeff Ross, no relation, and Kim Kardashian for some reason. Jeff Ross made a joke about Patriots owner Robert Kraft getting a massage, a reference to Kraft's 2019 solicitation of a prostitute at a Florida day spa. It was one of the tamest things said that night, but Brady got up and said,
"Don't say that shit again." Okay.
Proving that even after 23 years of taking hits in the NFL, he still has a pretty thin skin. According to Andrew Schultz, they were instructed not to mention the incident.
They told us no jokes about happy endings with Bob Kraft.
But Ross did it anyway because it's a roast. Limiting comedians seems pretty weak. They joked about Pete Davidson's dad dying in 9/11, but Robert Kraft's wiener is off limits? Suck it up, Buttercup. However, Ross relented so that the evening could have a happy ending. Bill Belichick showed up and looked just as uncomfortable by the jokes as he was to wear sleeves. Even Peyton Manning was there, and I get that they were rivals, but really, it should have been Eli Manning. Or better yet, Eli Manning and Nick Foles. And when they're done, Foles doesn't shake his hand. Since the roast, Brady has expressed regret, stating he liked the jokes about himself but didn't like how they affected his kids, which is fair. But it's a roast, and it featured former NFL players. Half the night was dedicated to lewd and graphic insinuations about Tom Brady having sex with both men and women. Children, let alone your children, were not the intended audience. I think more than likely after decades of people telling Tom Brady he's the greatest of all time, he maybe still wasn't quite prepared for a murder of comedians, which is what you should call it, fuck crows, to tear through his tender ass like store-brand toilet paper after all-you-can-eat Frijoles night. If you're interested in the roast of Tom Brady but don't want to commit 3 hours to it because it's not a hobbit delivering a ring to Mordor, go find clips of Nikki Glazer, who in my opinion won the roast, Tony Hinchcliffe, and Andrew Schultz. He's the one that looks like a Depression-era carny. The Giants have been eagerly awaiting a decision from Darren Waller. Is he retiring or not? Well, finally, we've heard something from Darren Waller.
Who knew that love could kill? Whoa.
Waller released this music video featuring him and a biblical amount of auto-tune. He recently divorced from WNBA star Kelsey Plum, and the song is very much about that.
That you and I were real.
The video even includes a proxy for Plum. They argue throughout the video. Well, mostly him. Eventually, she stabs him in the back and leaves him to die. Except then water hits his face and he's like, wet water, and resurrects like Sea Monkey Jesus. Certainly there are far cheaper and less embarrassing ways to deal with a divorce, but considering his past, I'm actually all for this. Make as many shitty videos as you need to post-divorce Malone, but don't forget to let football daddy know if you're coming home. Mark Davis is not having a baby, so I guess those birthing hips are just gonna go to waste. Last season, Mark Davis was seen sitting next to former Cirque du Soleil dancer and model Hayden Hopkins. People began to speculate that they were involved, because we all know two people can't sit next to each other without fucking. That's just science. Well, Hopkins is pregnant, which led to further speculation that Raiders owner and barber school victim Mark Davis is the father. That's right, people thought that this woman let this septuagenarian before photo inseminate her. And Hopkins has had enough of your shit. She went to shitter to sheet. Reports of Mark Davis being the father of my child are wildly untrue. I was pictured sitting next to him at a game in 2022 and have endured false rumors of a romantic relationship since. I was just a guest sitting in the owner's box. So Mark Davis never visited her box. What kind of idiot was spreading reckless lies like this?
So I would like to apologize to Hayden. I'll apologize for perpetuating a lie.
Turns out there was a better chance of Al Davis impregnating her. Better luck next time, Mark. Great. Now what am I supposed to do with this card? Fanatics is suing Marvin Harrison Jr. and his apparel company for breach of contract. They're also claiming he breached a confidentiality provision by leaking misleading details to ESPN. You may be familiar with the Fanatics brand and not even know it. Have you ever ordered something from the NFL shop or NHL or MLB only to find the logo's not centered, or the numbers are wrong, or the team is wrong? Yeah, that's Fanatics. Most rookies sign a deal with Fanatics as they enter the league, so they can sell trading cards and grow sweaty game jerseys. ESPN reported that Harrison's deal was for an estimated $1 million, but he didn't sign his deal because thanks to NIL and a Hall of Fame dad, he doesn't need the money. However, a term sheet was sent to Harrison, which is not a contract, more like a promise to sign a contract. Marvin Harrison Sr. says he said no to it. Fanatics says he signed it, which seems like a provable thing. However, even a signed term sheet isn't necessarily binding. Sometimes courts enforce them, sometimes they don't. I would think it would be binding if Harrison were to have taken money from Fanatics after supposedly signing the deal. Which again, Harrison says no, Fanatics says yes, and again, seems like a provable thing. Fanatics also claims Harrison tried to use the term sheet to get better offers from competitors, but wouldn't show Fanatics those offers. So business, they're saying Marvin's good at business. For now, Harrison's apparel company website is the only website where you can purchase signed Harrison memorabilia. Fanatics said this is the first time they've ever encountered a situation like this, but I'm guessing it won't be the last. Fanatics is seeking millions of dollars in damages. The new Donald Trump movie, The Apprentice, starring Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong, recently showed at Cannes and is causing quite an uproar. Not by the audience, but by one of the investors, former Commander's owner Dan Snyder. Snyder is a friend and political donor of Donald Trump. He invested in the movie through his company, Kinematics. And reportedly, he is furious because it's not complimentary to the former president. In fact, it's being called a dark and chilling origin story. Variety called it a scathing portrait and raised the question, is Hollywood a bitch? Reportedly, it includes a scene with Ivana Trump that involves a word that YouTube would probably prefer I don't say. But it's most of the word grape, an accusation Ivana said happened in 1989. Snyder was under the impression it was gonna be a flattering portrayal of Trump. If only movies had scripts you could read ahead of time. Now cease and desist letters are flying and they're trying to block its release. Snyder's not the only investor. It's also funded by the Canadian, Irish, and Danish governments, which should have made Snyder suspicious. Because if he wanted the movie to be complimentary, it really should have been funded by the Russian government. Unfortunately for Snyder, Kinematics does not own the copyright for the film, so they can't kill it. Only things wholly owned by Dan Snyder tend to die. Does Titans quarterback Will Levis have a sex tape? Stop asking, Mom. There's a video floating around the internet that some say is Levis with former and possibly once again girlfriend Gia Duddy. There is some debate if it's actually them. In fact, the only clue that it could be Levis is the foreplay lasts the entire first round of the NFL draft. If it is them, they were most likely hacked, which makes it very much illegal to distribute the video. Personally, I can't imagine why anyone would risk jail time for a second-round draft pick. It's gross. Last month, Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker put the dick in Benedictine when he gave a commencement speech at Benedictine College, which is a private Catholic liberal arts school in Kansas. Now, I watched the whole speech and I gotta say, I'm pretty disappointed. Wasn't as funny as I was expecting, but a few things stood out. First, this guy really likes the word vocation.
Vocation, 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 vocation.
He said it so many times I started to doubt that I knew what the word meant. The theme of the speech was very simple.
Accepting your lane and staying in it. Staying in your lane is going to be the surest way for you to find true happiness and peace in this life.
Stay in your lane. What a rousing inspiration. It reminds me of that momentous speech from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I have a lane to stay in. Or that famous scene from Spartacus. I'm staying in my lane. No, I'm staying in my lane. I'm staying in my lane.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
It's a swell thing to teach a bunch of young people.
For the ladies present today.
Ooh, something for the ladies. Go on.
Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
He stood in front of a room filled with women who just achieved their dream, mountains of crippling financial debt, and told them, I bet you're more excited about making babies. And for some reason, that's the section he caught the most heat for, telling women they're more important as baby factories than homemakers. He also crapped on gay people and completely lied about a bill Congress passed, but at the end of the day, he stayed in his very narrow lane. He's a Catholic guy who went to a Catholic school and said some Catholic shit. And what was the response? He killed, or crucified. He got a standing ovation, but outside that room, people lost their minds. They started online petitions for him to be fired, and then counter petitions for him not to be fired, as if that's how jobs work. He's not an ambassador to Tampax, he kicks a ball for a living. As long as he's accurate and has feet, they don't care. And honestly, I don't care. Not because I agree with him, but because I believe in a very simple thing. People can disagree. Lots of people have shitty opinions. It's okay. Because guess what? Sometimes opinions change. That's the great thing about perspective. As you move through life, sometimes things look different as you go. I'm not saying all opinions are harmless. Some lead to horrible actions, but don't be so fragile that you have to cancel or oust every person that you disagree with. Not everything is a call to action. Learn to disagree. Thanks for watching Shut Up Football. Leave your comments below, like, subscribe, say hi to your mom for me, and we'll catch you next time. Peace!
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boy.
Frijoles.